For those of you who are wondering where those extra Sundays of ours have gone, they're at Patreon. If you subscribe to QF on Patreon in the link given in the description to the Black Kluge level or higher, you're going to get access to not only the Sunday episodes that are missing from our regular free Sunday lineup, but you'll also get 4 extra episodes per month on Patreon that are unavailable anywhere else.
Honestly, I just think you think it was kind of like funny. This chick's real into you, and then like, hey, if you're really into her, you know what? I swear to you, I'd like a stack of Bibles on my children's life.
My point is,
that was my thought.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, I believe you that, but I don't.
Not to embarrass you.
I know you believe in the Bible, and that means a lot.
No, I said my children's lives. Okay, so what was I going to tell you? Oh, yeah, I got a check in the mail yesterday for $1.06.
The check costs more to write.
I know. What was it for? It was for, remember 100 years ago I was on the Larry Sanders Show?
Yeah.
The name of the episode was New York or L.A., and I did like a little walk-on. So I got a residual check for $1.06, and I'm looking at it, and I go, you know what? I signed the back of it. I'm going to cash it because...
You have to.
I have box office drawer. Why are they not contacting me to do more films?
You got a name.
I got a name, and I put seats on. I put people in the seat.
You could do another movie.
Why was I not tapped for the new Batman to play Scarecrow?
Yeah, why not? I think your problem is you're too picky.
That's true. I have
You've been offered a lot of roles, and you always find a reason to say no.
Well, one, they had me chasing a dog. A dog was chasing me for an entire weekend, and I locked myself in a safe, and I can't get out. That was the whole movie.
Wow.
And I turned it down.
But they didn't even offer you Scarecrow this time around, huh?
No, they didn't offer it to me last time around.
No, Howard has totally stopped touching chicks. There was definitely a sit down there.
But I think it's a germ thing.
What do you think, the Australians and the Italians had a sit down?
I'm just saying.
I think it's a germ thing with Howard, too.
Yeah. Where was his germophobia for 15 years?
Exactly. Those germs came out of nowhere.
Yeah, right. Germophobia. It's like fucking, I think he fingered Kendra Jade.
He touched Houston's tits on a regular basis. He had no germophobia.
It's a plague, and it affected you in a way that when you met John, you probably felt like in a way you were each kind of between the musical connection, and both losing your mothers. John was almost like your mother and you were his mother. In a way, you've kind of filled a hole for each other.
Welcome, everybody, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm your host, Fillmore, a.k.a. Jim Fix, and this is part 2 of our Quivers a Cunt series. How are you, Sam? Welcome back.
Oh, my favorite. I always love digging into Robin's cuntiness. Yeah. It's wonderful.
It's absolutely. So we're going to go right into it, guys. We only got a little bit of the original video. Then we got a couple other clips we're going to play together with it. So here we go.
You should have had your mother read her part. Oh, that would have been good.
Oh, yeah. See, you're always producing.
Yeah, but I didn't want to say anything.
See, you're cruel.
I know. I would have my mother read those parts. Yeah.
Those tapings would be a book.
Where is this book already?
You know what's weird is that, I don't know weird, but maybe that's the wrong word, but Howard always, you know how Robin frames the story with her perception or her made up bullshit about her parents? Sure. Howard does the same thing with his parents, and they both don't like being called out on their fables.
Grimm, the skeleton twins, Grimm's fairy tales. Well, you're right, and I think she modeled. Well, not modeled. After Private Parts, I think she must have realized, look, if he can bullshit about his entire life, why can't I?
Right, and a lot of, especially during that time period with Oprah and stuff, bringing in a lot of the daytime talk shows, there was certain, I guess, segments you would say that was about childhood abuse.
Oh, yeah.
And confronting that. I mean, you know, it was always who's the dad, childhood abuse, I cheated on my ex-wife, some sort of secret. There was like some staples in daytime talk shows that had a lot of ratings, and childhood abuse stories and confronting them was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that one guy who made up that entire book that went on Oprah.
Oh, that was like the 3 cups of tea guy, I think.
Yeah, I forgot what his name was. It was just, and she promoted on her favorite things. It was like a huge controversy because he was just a bullshit artist, much like Robin.
It was part of the book club, and it was like a massive seller because they all were. Anything on the book club book list was fodder for her Oprah, acolytes. And and she had to I think she did put out an apology saying we're sorry, we didn't vet this, we didn't figure this out. But I don't know, everybody can get taken sometimes.
At least, Howard's parents would sometimes call in and it would be a segment of how they push back against the narrative that he's railing against, which Bob and I just talked about with the poster episode about the moldy poster that they wanted taken down. They immediately call in and you could tell he's full of shit. Robin, unfortunately, her parents didn't do this.
No.
So, but they both are similar in that way. Yeah.
Well, I mean, she's not like they backed up some things and the rest, I guess not, because, well, fuck, I guess they figured what the hell, or she's going to cut off the money because at this point she's probably subsidizing their every move. And so it's contingent on that. Let's see what we got.
You better get it out already.
A chapter a day.
April 7th.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. I think I predicted
Can't come out
11 days away. Countdown to fiction.
We can't wait.
Countdown to fiction.
Count to fiction. Countdown to fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were really abused and your coworkers who you spend so much time with said that, you wouldn't be laughing. You would be irate, like we pointed out before.
Well, it's hard to, knowing what we know, it's hard to disagree. And the fact is, we'll play the clips to back it up, guys. Sorry for it sound like a broken record, but it's maybe Fred's just taking his lead from Howard, so he thinks I'm safe. I can say it's bullshit because even though he is one of the 3 in the room, one of the 3 in the room that really know what went down.
Well, you're 100% right with that because when it was okay for everybody to pick on Robin's charity, it was when Howard started picking on Robin's charity.
I'll go you one further. There's another example because I know we've got loads to. If we really put our heads together and write down a bunch of examples. Remember when we haven't used it yet, but it's a great clip when she was still shopping around that talk show she was trying to do in 2005, and she's trying to get it picked up, and then Sal comes in and starts busting on her appearance and her weight and this, that, and the other thing. And there's a lot of speculation that Howard messaged for him to come in and talk shit about the show.
I agree with you. It was very ballsy, and it also hit certain points that I don't think Sal would have never went on his own and did it. He's done a lot of dumb stunts, but this was a very direct attack on certain facets about her personality change, about her attitude at work, about how she's kind of trying to build this charity empire to bolster her, star.
And even if he didn't directly tell him to come in and do it, he had his tacit approval to do it because Howard has to approve any of these people coming in. They can't just always come in and talk shit about it. He would have said, yeah, come on in. So there would have been a note on Howard's computer saying Sal wants to come in and talk shit about such and such. And he goes, yeah, okay. He'll text back and say, yeah, come on in. Sure. Because he can always he can always enjoy a little Robin pile on up to a point.
And the other reason, like you said, is because they were starting to talk about it in the office amongst themselves. And eventually, at some point, it got to Howard, the murmurings. And those murmurings got louder and louder and louder. And he had to agree because he was getting sick of being bothered with their being pissed off about it. He doesn't want to hear about this anymore. So sure, pile on Robin so people will stop complaining about this, to me.
And ultimately, he wants to enjoy the fact that the show is it's not going to be a thing. He knows this already, but he wants to savor it on the air. And he wants to marinate in this whole, she's this fucking barnacle on me, this token basically can't do anything without me. It's not going to be success. I love it. I love the fact that it's going to be nothing's going to happen with it.
Exactly. He didn't want anything to happen with it. He doesn't want it to be a success, and he inherently knew it wouldn't be, because also too, like Gary, how Gary promotes his own things. He hated it. He outright said it. Jackie, that's a whole other outright hit. Yeah,
that's a whole other that's a whole other series we can do, the Bowie book saga, because he couldn't stop shitting on it.
They just talked about it on Howard 101.
Yeah.
So I listened to that saga, and I was thinking to myself about Robin. He will never outright say those same things to Gary, to Fred, to Jackie, or Stuttering John, whoever, the Block Party people. He'll say that directly to them. He will not say that to Robin until it bothers him so much. And he also, even though he won't say anything, he won't promote it. And he kind of wants her to fail.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's like Bob has said many times, meta communication. And if you need to use the underlings to achieve that, then that's exactly what he'll do. And in fact, it's better because it isn't him directly. He's
not making this sound like it's going to be a thing. He's negatively talking about it, like complaining about how he has to go to these charity events. Oh, yeah. He's like, it's too much, or, he's mocking it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's slipping in through the back door.
The fiction or nonfiction?
Fact.
It's not too late to correct it.
It is comedy fact, as Jackie would say.
I would. Well, anyway, I'm excited about it just for the picture.
Oh yeah.
On the cover. Great picture. It is a beautiful picture. Beautiful.
I will. I got to say, this is. It couldn't. Deborah and I were laughing at this a long time ago, because it's
severe.
It's close. It's half of it's just okay. I guess that's the best word.
That's the best word. It's too severe. Everything from the tense pose, the really, pierce through your soul stare, the cut of the book with the triangle, and the whole thing is too severe. Quivers, stabbing you. It's like a, when Jack Nicholson looks through the doorway and hears Johnny, it's like severe, like that.
Yeah, it's you're right. If a sociopath decided to write a book, it might look like this. Like very John Wayne Gacy, or somebody just said Gacy, a life.
Right, like it's very severe. It's like, you're exactly right. If somebody wrote a book about them, it would have this sort of cut to it.
Right. And my favorite thing is the actual thing says co-host of the Howard Stern show. I'm surprised she put that on there, because it acknowledges the fact that she's a subordinate. She wouldn't want that out there. The only reason, and I'm sure the book company insisted, because you got to put Howard's name on there, because that's otherwise, who the fuck are you, right? Like, you have to explain it. It's almost like Beth Stern, model. If you don't say model, she isn't one, right? But I can see her with her big ego saying, why do I have to have his fucking name on there?
I'm not sure how that went, but I know what you're saying. I also think, how interesting is this, the white and the black? Mm-hmm. She's in the white and the black's on the bottom. There's something symbolic and some sort of subliminal messaging going on there. Like, I don't know why those choices were made, but it's very, to me, it's something.
Well, it's symbolic also, because let's be honest, the content is so dark. I mean, this really is I don't know, like just some really demented. Like, if you go in thinking it's a funny book, at least with Private Parts, you went and it was a lot of jokes and it was a lot of jocular shit. When people opening this one probably had to expect something a little more lighthearted, or a lot more lighthearted. But when you open it up and you do read the whole thing, by the end of it, you're going, Jesus, this is like a manifesto of psychotic psychoses.
A scary diary. I also think there must have been an idea board for how they wanted this cover to go and how they wanted it shot. I can't believe that this is what they decided on.
I think she wanted to cut off as much of her body as she could because she was still a little hefty. So that was the decision to cut off most of the body and just keep the face prominent because that is, what she feels is her best feature.
I mean, I'd have to look at other people's autobiographies and their covers during that time period to get an idea of what people were doing. But this is just brutal.
Yeah.
Full picture.
Gorgeous. You hate that picture.
No, I love that.
What is wrong with you? My picture.
You have a serious picture.
It's a serious book.
You have a regal stare in that picture.
A stare. Yeah. A glare.
Regal.
We're glaring at the world.
Regally.
All right, very good. I still think you should have called the book Me.
I wanted to, but everybody argued with me.
I didn't.
That stare is the type of stare you get at 4 a.m. at a McDonald's and a crazy person drunk or on drugs is behind you on meth. And you're like, I'm not sure if this person is going to stab me in the next 5 minutes. That's the type of stare that is. Regal.
Regal, yeah. It's if you look when she was cleaning out her office, and I don't know if we got the video of that, but either way, I know I have it, but I don't know if we actually put it up on our channel. But there's 3 pictures in her office, and one of them's a massive pose of her, from the 80s, wearing all this leather stuff. And she's trying to be Grace Jones or something. That's the look she's going for. And the fact that someone said, they goofed on the fact that she has a massive portrait of herself in her house. Who the fuck has that? Honestly.
Beth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying to Bob in the one episode. I go, it's very odd to me when you go through the narcissist's house. It's not pictures of normal things like dogs, kids, your family.
Old pictures.
Yeah, from whatever, but you're in them, but it's not just of you.
No, of course not. But for her, it's probably she's got a picture of herself in probably every room.
And so does Howard and Beth. They have all these weird ass pictures and they're huge.
Oh, Christ's sake. Don't even get me started on that whole thing.
And see how she's doing this episode like this? You can watch her talking. You can see her eyes. Her eyes are so jarring in that book cover. It's not normal and not normally how Robin is unless she's angry, which we saw in the Sally Jessy episode because her eyes get bigger when she's yelling at people.
That's the serious face. That's the Robin's meaning business. And that's, that's ironic. It's actually maybe the most ideal photo for that book, the way it is, if you think about it, because that's the face. Yeah. That was basically the Photoshop we used for the Sally Jessy appearance. And she's serious as cancer, in that picture. And a lot of it has to be taken seriously, but it's so hard to the fucking content. God, if we ever covered that book for some reason, I don't know, just a goof, I don't think psychologically I could handle it again.
No, I can't either, but we got a long life.
Yeah.
Well, here's a picture of Baba Booey reading your book on the bowl. Look. Holy crow, bowl. Look, there he is.
Okay, so this is his sketching in 1995. But 27 years later, he's, Norman Rockwell with his sketches.
Oh, and he's preening on an art talk, which makes me sick.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah.
And he's got the Robin Quivers book. There he is with teeth.
Is there more porcelain on the toilet or in my teeth? The size of those things.
Look at that. And there he is.
I feel like Chip and Dale.
Yesterday I heard Robin in the hall.
Yep.
For those of you who are listening and not watching, it says a few months later. So
That's right.
We're into a few months later when this next segment happens.
Yeah. So the book is out, and now and actually we should go into another clip, but we'll play them slightly out of sync. It's fine.
So I got off the air and I'm hearing this voice. I said, I think someone is playing a tape of the show. And I walk into Peggy Panache's office, and Robin is doing a whole show in there. And she's advising Peggy on her love life.
I wasn't advising it. How dare
I had to leave.
you?
By the way, a few months later, and Howard's part has gone considerably forward, and his hair has gotten even thicker magically.
Go
a few months
figure.
later.
You do not know what was going on.
Oh, I know what was going on
You
in there.
only stayed for 5 seconds. I wasn't advising her at all.
I couldn't take it. I had to leave. I couldn't believe the two yentas in there.
Yeah, sure. All right, fine. But you don't know
God bless Billy.
Billy West.
He's doing
Is
more with the
yelping
fucking
into a
paper.
cup.
He's doing more with a Dixie cup than Fred has been able to do in the last 12 years.
Or Howard. Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on in there.
Now there you tell the truth.
See, that's why you lose your voice. I don't want you talking to Peggy anymore after the
My
show.
voice today.
Well, today you do. And dress in man-grabbing garb.
I'm done with you.
Right.
He's bringing up the stuff in the book when she was talking about dating, like early dating, and she's talking about so now they're actually going to go into their more mockery of the some of the writing style, which is mockable. Let's be honest.
So Howard started to listen to that advice in his 60s when he started wearing skinny jeans.
Pretty much.
Follow my instructions. I'm done with you. I don't advise in that area.
The colors of the day you should dress.
That's one area I'm not aware of. I don't know anything about it.
What is that outfit you wear to catch men?
Lime green skirt.
Lime green skirt. Number. With legs to kill.
I had legs
for days. Legs for days, not legs to kill.
His eyes popped out of his cretinous head. It was a feast too good for him.
Oh boy, here we go.
Knock you down, beautiful.
They
watched and
You're all just jealous. You're jealous because you can't have me.
One book Jackie read closely was your book.
I read it 5 times.
Every word.
Hey, you could just say to Jackie, all right, give me a good line from Robin's book. Go ahead.
Page 73, fifth paragraph?
Yeah.
Starts with I.
He's not wrong. Jesus
I
Christ.
love all of them are making fun of her. They're chirping up. The lime green skirt. Look at my legs.
I was so happy we could get him to do it.
So hot.
I was so happy we could get him to do it on the fly, but you didn't read the part I wanted to.
I set down my ring and someone touched it. So I didn't speak to them for 14 years. We were flouring the chicken in the kitchen.
No, I didn't flour any chicken.
They read that book like the Bible, these guys.
I wish they'd learn something. Keep reading, you idiot.
Never
You're dense.
7 boyfriends named James.
All right, let's take a...
sat in the living room and ate ice cream and got high as a kite. I walked across the street and had a sudden urge to flush the motorist.
So they've already had months to digest it. They've had months to digest the fucking piece of shit. And now I'm certain they're all like, yeah, this is all bullshit. This is just complete bullshit.
Oh God, they have months to digest it. Now they have, and they realize this is so
It's
funny.
Well, obviously...
I answered the phone and I joined the Air Force.
There's another guy who read your book way too close.
Oh, I didn't even know Fred was on his 4th or 5th reading.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Fred is doing a one-man show.
I'm proud of
You overpaid me. If I wear a lime green skirt, will you fucking stop?
I needed satimi and some creature comforts to surpass this momentous occasion in my life. If I was going to be forced to stay.
My parents shot pigeons to eat. Let me out of the Air Force immediately.
Mummy, I will only accept this money on one condition. You do not ask me where it came from.
Pick up my dishes.
Unbelievable.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with news. Let's stick to the
Fred
news.
is Robin Quivers.
Quivers, a play.
Fred, you ought to do a one-man show as Robin. Take it out on the road.
I would love to.
You and Jackie.
Oh,
The
yeah.
review.
And Billy now comes to think of it.
3 stages of
They should have done that. It could have been like the vagina monologues.
How many times would you have paid? How many times would you have paid to see the entire thing?
If there was like a new reading that came out every 6 months of their act, I would have gone every time.
That's what Jackie should do. Like I think I would pay any money to hear him recite the whole fucking book, like just in intervals.
Holy shit. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Robin.
The what?
The 3 stages of Robin.
3 people to play 1 person.
I can see the commercial now. And now, the new play that has taken Broadway by storm. Robin Quivers of Life, as done by Fred Norris, Jackie Martling, and Billy West. Here, Jackie Martling say...
And when the battle was over, I stepped back and said, "Unhand me, Daddy."
Oh,
Here, Billy West.
Now, Robin, you is my daughter. And you gonna do what I say. Now get over here and hold my hand.
And here, Fred Norris, his interpretation of Robin.
Mother, I'm coming home from an almost lucrative stripping career. I want you to pay my way and don't ask any questions.
That's how absurd this book was.
Pretty much. I mean, like, I'd love to say we were making it up.
No, this is exactly how it was. But when you put it in this, satire like enunciation, it's fucking brilliant.
Right, and the way she's laughing at it, clearly she knows they know it's bullshit. So she's laughing like she's busted.
She's laughing like it's somebody else's story. She's making fun of.
Totally.
Wow.
And it's all in there.
Oh, yeah.
Not a made-up.
I'd go see that. You have to, by the way, be paid a royalty, Robin. Because
thank you. Every time they utter something from my lips, I want to be paid.
I'm better. Nothing wrong with me now.
The only thing wrong with me is I still have to hang around with you guys.
Flash, normal. Out of my way, I'm normal.
Jackie, what would you know about?
Why are there no limo drivers to pick me up anymore? I'm normal. Nobody wants to take me to work. Fuck you. I'm better.
Guys, next bit is from the History of Howard Stern, but originally, I'm not sure the exact day. I think it's the 3rd of May 95. It's just it's all over the place here, but it's at post. It's somewhere in between mass release of the book and the first, like, they've all received their copy. So here we go.
What'd you do this weekend? Anything?
Oh, yes. I went to Baltimore.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Poor parents.
They're old people. Leave them alone.
I didn't bother them. I simply wrote a book.
Our parents are like, old people until they read that book.
They read it, or tried to anyway.
What happened when they read it?
Trouble.
Did they like it, or are they upset?
My mother did not understand
the book.
Sure.
She needed the Cliff Notes. Oh, Lord.
I'm sure she was very fucking confused.
Right.
Maybe it's over everyone's head.
My depiction of her.
Oh, really?
She didn't understand that that was the way I felt, so she was a little...
That was the way I felt.
I said this in the last one. I am so tired of people using their feelings to narrate and label it as truth.
Yeah.
Your feelings aren't what is true all the time. Sorry.
Wasn't it Robin who said to Artie in the bro fight, just because you're feeling upset and insulted, does that mean it's true?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Little shocked.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that her feelings about growing up aren't valid. I'm not saying that I believe in the molestation. I clearly don't.
Yeah.
But I just think that you can feel a way about growing up, but to shove that on your mother's lap and just say, "Hey, eat this."
Well, yeah, pretty much. And I mean, it sounded to me like they not only did they not only was it a surprise to them in the release, she didn't tell them anything about it before it was released. She literally, they knew a book was going to be written. I don't even know it went that far. I think she literally threw it in their lap and said, "Here you go. Here's your book. This is about you."
Well, and I know I bring this up a lot, but this has a lot of similarities to the Hilaria Baldwin situation. Her parents weren't on board for Spanish Gate. They were not on board with her pretending to be Spanish. That's why her father didn't walk her down the aisle during the wedding. Her brother did. And then they have nothing to do with them now. None of them. They have nothing to do with her.
Is that a definite? Like, you never see pictures of?
During
COVID. I mean, obviously
they only met like 2 or 3 of the kids.
Yeah,
and now she's going to have her 7th, and they don't have anything to do with them, and they haven't said anything in her defense, which is another thing. And one of the cousins came on the Reddit page who went to the wedding and said everybody was so confused.
She's probably the laughing stock. They're probably embarrassed as fuck.
Because but that's what I'm saying. Robin, you're putting this book out there that's saying these terrible things. What do you think is going to happen?
They've all decided to become French.
Well, I felt
just to
Spanish. So what, lady? What are you talking about? I felt Spanish. So now I, as a mother or father, have to go along with this because you feel this way? No. You should not do that. Robin, you feel you were abused? No, you need to make money.
You remember that face Hilaria gives the pops, like when that roadside video. That's the exact same face Robin gives the audience member who starts talking shit about her on Sally Jessy. That's the exact same face.
Totally. And they're both huge narcissists. You're right. Yep. That is the exact same venomous face.
Yeah, like, how dare you call me on my shit as if you know, and like, how dare you reveal what is actually true about me?
It's how I feel. How I feel.
Yeah, my perception trumps reality.
And it's what she needed on the last train of her life. She probably has, another 5-6 years to live, living in her neighborhood with all the old timers.
Well, I'm glad you're very sympathetic to people who do things a little out of the way.
She's an old woman. Picking on the innocent.
I'm glad you are innocent.
Picking on.
You know what? I'm not even really happy he's calling her out on this because he does the same fucking thing.
Oh, yeah, worse in a lot of ways.
Because they were still alive. His parents were still alive way longer. And they didn't call in anymore because they're so sick and old and they can't defend themselves anymore. And he did the same thing. So shove it.
And he doubled down, actually, only as soon as they couldn't get on the radio to defend themselves, he only got worse.
He got worse, and he did it with celebrities. He used this fake story and fake narrative to try to relate to, Machine Gun Kelly.
Right.
Fuck you.
Yeah. My dad called me a moron. These people are talking about being completely abandoned. Ray wanted to leave him at the fucking doorstop, somebody else's door stoop, and give him up.
Hey, Machine Gun, your parents didn't pay for you to go to college and give you a car?
Buy you a car? Yeah, exactly.
The baby.
Innocent.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on anymore.
I simply told the story of my life, Howard. That's all I did. That's all I did.
Understood. We all have to do what we have to do.
No, again, that's all I did.
The story of my life as written by Tolkien.
It's very, though, he says, we all do what we have to do. Yeah. That's a very telling statement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so as we go through, guys, so now the clips are going to be just a little bit more revealing, essentially.
Understood.
A child does not create its own life.
Mm-hmm. No, but an adult creates its own reality.
Yep. Yeah.
You just had to write a book about it.
What does that mean? If everybody should have the right to tell their story.
Okay. Hey, listen, what do you want from me? I'm behind your book 100%.
No, you're not.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, she knows. She knows he knows what the gig is.
Well, that's why he said we all do what we have to do. That one hand washes the other. I'll call you out on this, but sure, go ahead.
You're now attacking me.
I don't give a rat's ass what you do.
Yeah, right.
You do what you want.
Yeah. Go ahead, be sympathetic. You're constantly calling on people not to be sympathetic to the criminal element and so forth. But now here you are taking the other side.
I don't know. I don't know what went on.
What criminal element?
So basically saying he sticks up on the air for criminals, like because remember when they used to call the pedophile hotline or whatever, they used to play the
NAMBLA, like the those
NAMBLA.
Yeah.
And they used to have those people on to try to defend their point of being a pedophile and their whole their whole thing. So maybe she's trying to say, well, you do this, and she's trying to rope him into something bigger.
Or the Klan, like when Daniel Carver would come in, for example, which is, basically, okay, we said we got representation here. But here, like that, like everybody's getting a chance to use our forum, for example. But we highlight all the doldrums of society on this show, basically, but you can't let me have a pass. You have to be critical, even though we do this all the time. Pretty much.
That book is. I'm waiting till the day the book comes out to ask my question. I'm storing up my questions.
Billy West called me at home yesterday because he had to ask me about, something about what we were doing on the show. And they said, I'm reading Robin's book. Yeah. And I said, what do you think? And there was like this big long pause. And he goes, well, it's pretty heavy. And he goes, I don't know. He goes, now every time I look at Robin, it's like she's naked.
Yeah. Well, Richard Johnson did a little piece on it today.
Little.
Yeah. He was bringing up Robin's porno star activity.
Yes, my porno star. I never starred.
Where Robin was actually considering. What was that?
What?
That was one of my things that I didn't believe.
Well, you have to start from the beginning. That Robin had sex with a guy in a car and someone watched and she dug that.
Yeah, and then I don't know, somehow there was.
You're telling too much.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
No, you simply tell the porn part.
You gotta get people to.
Somebody was mentioning, I guess in one of the earlier Robin themed episodes, because we mentioned, I'm sure I mentioned the book. We bring it up quite a lot. That if it's all bullshit, why take anything from the book seriously? Well, no, there are documented things that she did do. She did go to the Air Force. That's documented. She was a registered nurse. She did work in Washington. All these things are, they're provable. So you can't, when we say it's all bullshit, we're talking about the stuff that.
The coloring in.
Yeah, basically, the fill in, the stuff that can't be proven, for example. Like the whole fact that the father. The whole molestation and that last chapter, trying to get him on camera, admitting what he did, basically, and she never gets it.
Right.
So,
it's also weird, too, the way she describes her sexuality in the book versus how you see her live her life, especially when she was super famous and could, nail people who she probably wanted. She was never one to be publicly showing displays of affection. She didn't, those little quirks about her that got her off don't really translate into how she acts in real life.
And the fact that they didn't bother to address the fact that she became a big sister for this girl, then bailed on her when things got too heavy for her because it was just too much. It was now, admittedly, she said that this girl had a lot of baggage to deal with. But that's you left her basically. You said, oh, the system failed her. I didn't fail her. I didn't complete my year-long stint as a big sister, but they're to blame, not me. The system failed her.
And that was even more egregious because as somebody who was supposedly abused so badly, you would be more apt to continue and complete that program because you understand.
If you did go through it and you weren't, it's just stuck up your own arsehole. And then also the one chapter with James, the kid that was a foster child, and she reconnected with him supposedly. But in the book, it makes it seem as though they're actually going to sleep together because they meet at a hotel, and it's sort of left open-ended. There's not really any resolution, and
that's a lot of it.
Yeah, and I mean, these are the latter chapters. That's the whole thing, and it's got the Mary Tyler Moore throwing her hat up in the air type of ending, but there's nothing to indicate that there is any kind of resolution at all. She's
it's
still
like
a
Mary
nut.
Tyler Moore throwing her hat up in the air at the end of Skid Row, and there's a bunch of people behind her bodies ODing in the street. That's what it's like.
Oh, man.
Buy it. Now you gotta get people to buy it.
That led Robin to believe that she could be
No, it did not.
stripper.
That's not true.
So you're denying your own book?
Black and white.
I'm denying what Baba Booey is saying. He's jumping to conclusions.
Are you demanding a retraction of your own book?
No, I'm demanding Baba Booey.
He's jumping to conclusions because you left things so open-ended, lady.
Big time.
Maybe you better go back and read
my work.
You mean you didn't say in the book that because you
I said I became I flirted with exhibitionism.
Right.
Flirted with exhibitionism, which means not. You didn't flirt. Flirting with exhibitionism would imply that you did flash someone, and you got a vicarious thrill, or
That's not even really exhibitionism. That's being 20.
Well, I mean, if you walk in front of your window naked and that people can see it, obviously you're an exhibitionist. Or in this, it's just I felt like exposing myself, but you didn't do it. So you're writing about nothing.
Exactly. I
felt molested.
Right. That's like how she was, felt, Black Power, Malcolm X-ish for a hot second.
Right.
That was as much of a trend as like a boy band.
Well, that's one of the parts of the book that I could that sounded plausible because of the time period, but
and
I still don't believe
college.
it.
It sounded more like she wanted to fit in and less like she wanted to have an identity.
Or be enlightened, for example, like to do the actual reading and of the literature and anyway, just
sit-ins.
Yeah, exactly. Like she didn't actually want to be political. She just wanted to find some kind of bullshit identity or tack one on that she didn't have. I believe, like Howard, she was really just nothing in the classroom. She was nothing in terms of personality. So in this book, she was allowed to become whatever she wanted, the same way Howard adopted whatever he wanted. And the look, certainly.
They both have this similarity where they don't seem to have a core identity, and they also don't seem to have friends. Like Howard has friends like Dr. Lou and stuff,
right.
But it doesn't seem like they have this massive social group. During periods of your life when you're going out and things, there's a group of people, or you go to football games, or you go to plays, or there's a massive amount of people, especially during college. Mm-hmm. And it's odd that they both don't have that at all.
No, they don't. Yeah.
In any parts of their life.
You would name drop at least the first names of friends you had, and you'd hear their names. Like if they played any kind of part of the developmental part of your life, you would write about them a little, even if only in passing. You'd hear the name again, like, oh, me and Bob went to college, and he studied this and I studied this. And then you'd move on to whatever story. But again, they'd turn up later. When we got married, Bob was there, And then, but in their case, it's like the friendships are non-existent. Forget secondary. They're just non-existent.
They don't speak about friendships in a way that seems like, one, they're lasting, and two, they talk about events that they did with certain people in their lives. Mm-hmm. But the event is that, and then they don't talk about or describe how they feel about that friend, why they love that friend, why that friend is so important to them, other than just to have it. So at least I could say I have someone.
Yeah. And like it as an example of how even the focus of the book, like Muhammad Ali is used as like this cheap Rocky, type metaphor for her book. Like she's a fighter. She came up from nothing, and she achieved something, and nobody became somebody. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, when she does talk about him, it's as though, he's my idol. But then when she meets him, it's all about how smitten he is with her. It's not about, I was speechless and my God, I was crying to meet him and this, that, the other thing. No, he has to be a subordinate in the story because it's Robin.
It's exactly like how when Jennifer Aniston came on and she lathered her with praise about the show, but then she turned it into I named my cat after you, my cat.
Completely.
And it became a story about her fucking cat.
Yeah, and sirens. I love that clip. Jesus, I still have it somewhere.
Oh, I stand corrected.
You are very dramatic. You know that? I flirted with exhibitionism.
I don't like
That's true.
the crass interpretation by
Right.
Baba Booey.
But Baba Booey has it right because I remember reading it.
Keep it out of layman's terms.
Yeah.
It sounds so much better when I say it.
Yeah.
You were getting it in the back of a car. And
Not in the back.
And somebody saw, well, wherever you were, the front of the car, and then you were getting it, and then somebody saw you, and
It was
then
a whole truck full of guys.
right, and then you liked it. So somehow she ended up with a Polaroid of herself naked, or someone took a Polaroid of you.
I answered an ad in a paper.
Yeah, and you went to a place,
Yeah.
and
I suppose it was supposed to be an audition.
I suppose. You either know or you don't, you fucking idiot. You don't
And then she
suppose
said-
anything.
Then she said it was supposed to be an audition. But by the way, when you have sex in a car in a front seat, doesn't it have a glove compartment? What are you talking about?
Well, and a steering wheel if you're in the other chair.
She's
Well,
not
the
that
back of those-
tiny.
in those days, bucket seats, so the whole front end was one seat, really.
Oh, okay. Because I'm
Yeah.
trying to picture trying to picture how that. I'm like,
Talking
what?
about getting cock blocked by the stick. Jesus Christ! If you're driving standard, that's why I'll always have fond memories of the old Bonneville, the old Pontiac Bonneville, especially the front seat is just as good as the back seat.
Or porn films.
yeah, but you knew that.
Of course I knew that.
You were aware
I
of it.
answered the ad for a porn film.
And what happened when you went there? You got it naked?
I had to strip down and a guy took a Polaroid.
And did you do that in front of anyone else or just the guy?
Just that guy.
I would like to personally offer
I'd
$1,000
like to
reward for that
see-
Polaroid.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 minute. I don't believe any of it
I
happened.
have to have the picture.
You have to have the picture, and because you won't even let me see your nipple.
It's really weird that this guy who supposedly did this after she became famous never came out with it, because there's a lot of celebrities who did shit like this, and then those pictures always come out.
Yeah, the one I was reading about just this last weekend was another one of the Weinstein women. It was Gretchen Mol, I think, at the time, who was sort of like you started reading about her, and then she was in a few films, and then you never saw her again because he'd moved on to the next whoever it was, and I don't know if she's still acting, I'm certain, but she's not alone. There's shitloads of the Harvey girls that, the Jennifer Lawrence story. The way I heard it was all those nudes came from his phone.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
I totally believe it. Totally. I mean, it's possible like they came from whatever her iCloud leak, but basically he and it would make perfect sense for a lot of these actresses to be on his phone. Like having sent to him, you're going to get a fucking part.
But again, Robin, like if she became really famous and they had those Polaroids, that could come out later, I'm sure, and it didn't.
No, and so and I mean, who knows? Like some person, he could throw them out, he could lose them, whatever. I don't believe it ever happened, which is why there's no fucking photo, because there was never a porn guy.
So you fucked a guy in a car and it made you want to get an ad, like some Backpage ad, and go on some audition. It's just like, what?
It's a demented Wizard of Oz, like Benjamin says.
Oh, please.
Exhibition.
Do you believe that?
I'm well
Let's take
now.
a
I
vote.
keep
Did you believe that when you read it?
I'm a different person today than I was then.
Did you believe it when you read it?
No. Okay. And I believed everything else in the book.
Jackie, did you believe that when you read
I
it?
didn't read that yet, and I don't think I'll believe it.
Well, he's planning not to believe it.
Fred, do you believe that?
Again, that was one of those chapters or pages that I looked at the book and read the page, and I put it down on my chest, looked at my wife, and go, what the hell is this?
Well, but isn't this one of these type
of course.
Books where you got to either believe all of it or else
none
it all
of it.
falls apart?
Well, it could fall like
I
dominoes.
mean, why would you lie about that and not? Yeah.
Well, I had trouble with a lot of it because I know Robin longer than all of you.
Well,
right.
Except for Fred. I mean, Fred knows Robin almost as long as I do.
Right.
And Fred and I both had trouble with the book in certain parts
Right.
based on our knowledge of Robin.
Okay, that's exactly what we've been saying.
Yeah, and this is where Robin was smart when you include facts
Yes.
with bullshit, it's really hard to suss out the bullshit. Oh, well, not for us and not for them apparently, but it gives you these red flags, and then you're thinking, but that's true. She did go to the Air Force. Wait, well, she was a nurse.
Right.
Well, she did live in Baltimore. So you're like going back and forth in your head, like, wait a minute, this doesn't add up, but this does.
Well, in part one, for example, when they mentioned about the lifestyle she was living with, going to see her parents all the time, getting home cooked meals, talking about having spent time with them. But if you read the book, it would suggest that aside from the time she crutched on them, they had like no relationship with her, and she was constantly getting estranged from them because she was doing this fight or flee, like this fight or flight thing. But those like Howard and Fred would not know any of that because they would have heard something like that at least once during the time they were with her.
Do you think the way Howard is so, you know how in his books he so tries to make himself, even though it's clearly homoerotic, he does push the girls aspect, like, you know, very heavy handed with it. But then also there's all these elements of homoerotic shit in his books. Do you think it's kind of like Robin pushes these narratives like I fucked a guy in a car and I liked people watching me, and then I went to go do a porn possibly, or then I went to be a stripper, an exhibitionist? Do you think they say these outlandish things to kind of throw off the scent of their sexuality?
It's a possibility. I don't really think she's a lesbian, for example. She might be bi. I think there's a good chance of that because if she's a narcissist as well, it would make sense that both of them are, you know, what do you call it? As George Takei would say, pansexual. It's possible. Like there's a possibility, but I don't know. I mean,
just
a lot of that
because, you
book
know,
was just
Howard,
sort of sensationalized, you know.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's interesting that they both talk about sexual stories that don't ring true. Mm-hmm. And then they live these lives that kind of don't ring true either when it comes to their sex life. So it's kind of a...
You think it could be another thing they have in common?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's possible. Like I'm saying, like she make herself to be some raging heterosexual that, you know, ate up men like a fucking, I don't know, like some kind of, you know, I don't know, some kind
Black Widow?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of some reference from the Odyssey, but like the Black Lotus, the island of the Black Lotus, or some bullshit. But I don't know. I mean, she's and I think anybody who's read the book, please get back to us on there. But I know there's not going to be too many people commenting on that because so many people haven't read it. But anyway, let's continue.
What is it?
Yeah, sorry. What's that?
You said in Greek mythology, is that the siren, the song of the siren?
Yeah. She would entrap men and ensnare men with her song, and then and on the island of the Black Lotus, all the guys basically all drugged the men, and they stayed there for I can't remember how many decades or something, and that was before Odysseus had to come back to his kingdom, but. With Robin, it's like, you know, it was too good for him, so I had to move on. It's kind of similar.
I'm amazing.
Well, Freddie and I had a question about another part that was a similar.
Well, Freddie and I questioned about half the book.
Fred comes in one morning and he says, "Did you get to the part where Robin is going to cross the road?" And this is what we were at NBC.
Yeah.
And she suddenly has this unbelievable urge that she can't control to rip open her shirt and expose it to passing motorists.
I did control it, didn't I?
Well, I said it was an uncontrollable urge that you did control.
So why didn't you get uncontrollable in here? No.
It's uncontrollable. Why'd you control it?
So true.
I forgot about it. It didn't even occur to me. Yeah.
I know. I've never seen any evidence of any of this.
Of course not. Yeah, in Cars, she becomes a different woman. In here, she doesn't.
She was in the street. She wanted to show Cars.
Yeah. I know. I read it. Believe me.
Who can make this stuff up?
You.
You.
You think it could be a big help.
Yeah.
Right.
She has a way of pushing you.
Sure.
I believe that. I don't know why.
What? That Judith could make it up?
No, that you wanted to show your...
What brought on the urge to do that?
Jackie, I was ill.
What were you, like a TikTok Like back in the day, like a TikToker, for content. TikTok challenge. How many flashing breast shots can you have for a car before the signal changes? TikTok challenge. The Robin Quivers TikTok challenge.
Yeah, sounds like a thing.
For monoxide.
She was ill. She was as ill as I was.
She was fine. And you're still ill. I got better.
Yeah. You never saw me whip my fly open in public.
I don't know what you do. You told me there were dark things going on in your brain that I didn't want to know about.
Not as dark as that. Nothing that weird.
This is so dark, I don't know how you can see the typewriter.
You keep your secrets. I'll keep your secrets if you keep mine, Robin. Wink, wink.
Totally. Guys, this next clip is another Sternthology thing. I'm gonna say it's 98, 99 because Casey is mentioned, and that's about when he started working on the show. So again, playing with time here, but either way, it works for our narrative. So here we go.
There you go. That's a story.
Unreal. What is it? Here's Mr. Skin's best friend, Gary Dell'Abate. What is that?
She's just so in the honeymoon mode. It's great. It's wonderful.
They're talking about Mr. X, I think.
Great. It's great. Life's great.
I know. And you usually she tells me about relationships being great.
Oh, here we go.
Look at me. This is the woman that used to run on your face is now the happiest woman in the world.
I know. When I was
used to what?
Yeah, don't bring that up.
Used to run on Howard's face, remember?
Oh, that's good.
That's a beauty. Remember? That was another person.
Didn't you stomp on my face?
That was another person.
I read your book. Didn't you pull your car over in Queens and cry?
To do what?
Just to cry.
No,
you were
I don't think so.
It's in your book.
I read that.
You were driving around and you were so depressed you just pulled the car over and you cried.
I don't recall that.
You wrote it.
Well, even if you don't recall that exact thing he's talking about, if you were the type of person that pulled your car over and cried frequently, you would think that sounds like something I would do. Like,
yes.
Hey, do you remember when you recorded on a Wednesday? I'm not sure if it was a Wednesday, but probably because I recorded a lot. I mean, you do kind of have an idea.
If you wrote it in your fucking book, which you have to pour over the manuscript before there's so many edits you have to do with your book before it finally goes to press. You have to keep rereading it constantly. You get fed the fuck up with it, I'm certain.
Hey, George Bush, didn't you throw out a pitch after 9/11? I'm not sure.
Need to become a hooker.
Like the book.
But I'm saying you're so much better than that now.
I don't recall that.
She cries at home.
You really don't recall that, or you're just goofing?
No, I have to read that book. If that happened.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember that. And also, I remember that she did stomp on my face.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Right. No one would forget that.
I don't know why she was mad at you, but she was so mad at you when she ran. She pictured your face on the ground.
She was always mad at me.
And ran on it.
Oh, stop it. I'm not always mad.
A lot of times. Now that you get it regular, though, you're never mad at me.
Hey, Britney Spears, remember when you shaved your head? I can't recall.
The good thing there's evidence.
Stop it. We haven't been mad at you in years. Let's canoodle.
Because people ask me, is Robin really different? I said, I still don't buy it 100%, but it seems like it might be for real. I'm giving it another 10 years. Really?
It's like an alcoholic. You're always waiting for him to fall.
Right.
Everything
it seems to be a complete
But the thing that they're saying about, do you think she's better? And they're saying she's better. It has nothing to do with the things that were in the book, per se. It has nothing to do with the better. Yeah, she's better from the things that she made up in the book. Okay. Yeah, but is she better from the things that are really hindering the work environment? They're contemplating it. Yeah. She might have been a better coworker now than she was in the early 90s or 80s. Okay, but that has nothing to do with her getting better from these psychological fucking maniac rantings in the book that aren't true.
Well, that's exactly right. So that's all they have to go with for the most part, because only Jackie and Howard and Fred spent any time with her off the air, and I'd even argue not even Fred, just Howard and Allison. So, and then we have an Allison clip that's like 30 seconds. We'll be playing that where he says she didn't believe a lot of the book. So, and Allison would have been there in the early days to know and spoke to her like they were around each other all the time.
I'm sorry for pausing it again, but wouldn't Allison know out of all people that if she were to say she doesn't believe it, and she's a very studied, educated person in this field. I mean, not that it takes a rocket scientist. Look at how we picked up on that really quick, but that's a whole nother layer of what the fuck.
Well, we have to question Allison a little bit. She did think her husband was straight for the longest time. So, I mean, and who knows, guys? Yes, I know.
Vicious. Yeah. What do you think will happen? One of these days,
you'll blow
my
up.
hair will stand on end.
Yeah. Everybody's waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah,
Everybody.
You're just holding it in.
How long can it last?
There's a lot of things that could happen.
I'll tell you one thing. You should write a self-help book because I've never seen anybody do a conversion like that.
No, you're right.
It's scary. It's almost like it's not you.
Well, it does sound like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, because he's telling me stuff, and I'm going, who could have done that? Not me.
I don't know that, like, when you went for your breast reduction, it wasn't like they removed a piece of your brain or something. Because
I got a lobotomy?
Right.
Howard,
Calm me right down.
The point is...
The other thing is, people like Howard, for example, he claims not to have any recall, like he can't retain anything, and it's obvious he can't remember anything, or he chooses to claim he doesn't remember just because it's an arrogance thing. But with her, I believe after the book was released, it was like it didn't matter anymore what was said in there to her, because her reality that moment is more important than anything she released. For the time being, yes, this book is going to be a stepping stone to do other things. It's going to get me maybe some money, some more notoriety, but at the end of the day, it's only serving a purpose, and then it's meaningless to her. That's how little it means in the long run. It's not a Bible by which to, as opposed to what most people write, that, you write your life story. It's meant to be as accurate as possible.
Right. And then you remember it so well that a lot of people who write multiple things, they will, if they don't believe in something that they've written before, they will go back and correct it because they remember that specific thing they said years ago in a different book. So, yes, you're right.
Or legally they're allowed to talk about it now. This is statute of limitations is passed on something, or they're able to talk about it because they're divorced and they were married at the time, and they're going to talk about recovering from this, or they were addicted and they got over it. It's a sobriety book. I mean, there's lots of reasons to update the biography.
Here's a great comparison. You know how Bushkin wrote all about Carson, but he also wrote about himself within that book, Johnny Carson.
Sure. Yep.
You could tell what he was saying was true. And Robin, she doesn't put things in a way that seem true, and then she can't recall them. Whereas Bushkin could recall things from 30 years ago, seems true, and then he talks about it throughout his life, even after he wrote the book.
And most likely consulted notes he had anyway.
Right.
And he would have had documents. He would have had to vet things. He would have had records of, transactions, hotel bills, everything.
And we're talking about things that happened way before,
long
ago. And he's not he's not in an interview saying, wait, I don't remember that, even though I wrote that.
Well, and eventually when we do that, we're going to redo that and make it give it a good run through, because it's got way more clips since we did that original episode. He wrote a second part, an extra chapter called "Mommy Dearest," because he consulted with a psychiatrist or a couple psychiatrists, and they talked about Wiggy. He talked about Carson's narcissism, and he definitely had he had a fucked up relationship with his mother too. So the parallels are amazingly fascinating on one level with Carson and Howard, in terms of control, in terms of fucked up relationship with their mothers rather. And thank God Bushkin sought to release it, even though some people thought, it's a cynical cash grab. You've released a book, now you're charging for another chapter. Why don't you add it? I didn't care. I loved reading more. I could have paid for as many more chapters as he wanted.
I agree with you. And I think how interesting is it that you and I, that was our genesis of podcasting for, all those years ago when we decided to record that off the cuff, kind of like that podcast, which, you know,
Right.
it had to do with Howard, but we didn't really know what narcissistic personality disorder was until Bob really laid it on thick for us, you know, but we had this inkling because we could draw that similarity from Carson and Howard. I think that's kind of fascinating that even without that knowledge of Bob and how far we've come in analyzing Howard, we had this sense.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's just too many similarities based on also anecdotal stuff from other people. And that was key to understanding Carson. And it's key to understanding Howard, because especially with the what do you call it? History of Howard Stern clips where people, you know, they refute him or they dispute, you know, certain facts and they sound believable and he doesn't, because he's such an unreliable narrator generally. Where with Carson, it's not like that. It's more like we need that anecdotal evidence because he's really not a person to give of himself personally in terms of, like, you know, his own personal relationships, but also he didn't want to divulge really much of his life. He was very much an enigma to the public when he was alive.
As were a lot of celebrities back then.
Yeah, totally.
It's like Robin went to shrinks, and she tried to do this, she tried to do that, and the end result was getting laid regularly is what cured her.
No, I think it was the shrink.
Out of your mind.
Getting laid wasn't what did it. The reason she's getting laid regularly is because she went to the
There's no
shrink.
way I'd be getting laid if I had changed.
Don't you think it's the shrink that did it?
No.
What did it?
The horses?
Me.
It
was a
What do you mean you?
Me. It wasn't the shrink. It was me.
Me.
Yeah.
My, mine, me.
That's right.
Don't you think the shrink guided you in some way?
I was out of therapy for several years.
But the thing I got from your book was... Oh, you were still screaming?
Yes.
Yes, I can attest.
And what happened? Was it the ray of light story?
Ray of light.
You know?
No. Multi-layer.
You know how she talks about the screaming? That Sally episode we did, that is a great indicator of... I think there's truth to that, the screaming.
Oh, fuck yeah. And she doesn't scream on that show, but she tries to talk over people. It gets to almost that point. But you could see her in that show struggling to hold back the anger, the real anger.
And I think when she's by herself and the screaming that she talks about, the little frustrations of things that don't go her way, that's when she would blow.
Yes.
And so... you know, she's kind of a little bit more guarded because she's on television, but you see it revving up. And then all of a sudden you get those eyes that are on the book and that are on the Sally Jessy show. And you can totally see her losing it.
Yeah. And in the same way that Howard sometimes can't control his stupidity and blurts out things on the air that he shouldn't, Robin's much the same way, because their emotions kind of take over and their intellect loses the battle. Like the notion of self-preservation becomes null and void once the feeling of, I got to rectify this right now. This is more important right now. My false self is being fucking is being assaulted. I have to fucking defend this now. It takes precedence over, you know, being seen as being, you know, whatever the perception is irrelevant compared to what they think at that moment.
It's that, and the fact that because they have to protect their false face, they're dumb protecting it. They're dumb in general. And they can't
expose themselves.
They can't explain this in a way that makes sense. So they start screaming at people, or they start insulting people in a dumb way. They don't know how to dig themselves out of it. And you see it happening on television or on the show. And it's like, holy crap. That's why some of these bits that go on forever with Howard, when he feels slighted or when he feels backed up into a corner, go on way longer than they should, and they make him look horrible. It's because they can't help themselves.
There's one episode I'm going to cover with Bob, I think. It's George Takei's in studio. Artie's gone. And he starts asking pointed questions not pointed questions, but very direct questions regarding Howard's psychology. What does he get from it? What from his analysis? And asking him, why are you doing this? Why are you going to this? How is it helping you? And Howard's getting frustrated. He's almost ready to say, stop fucking asking me questions, because he's getting flustered because he can't explain how it's helping him, because it's not helping him. He doesn't want to betray that fact.
Right. Yes. And just like Robin on the Sally stage, she wants to have the narrative, I am fine and
Yes.
I'm a hero, and I'm a fighter, and I'm a survivor. And don't you fucking poke a hole in that story.
Don't you dare question it. Never. Yeah.
No, it's been years and years and years of work, you know?
Thinking on your own, you mean?
Thinking on my own, also doing other things.
Yeah, I don't think on my own.
High colonics.
I don't like to think about myself.
What? I would like to have a high colonic and then let it out on you.
I'll pay for that.
You know what's weird?
Hey, is that guy here?
Yeah, well, that's true. He would like to see more scat.
Yeah, this is not me. It's
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Just wipe that visual away. Go ahead.
All right. Hold on. Blinders. That just fucked me right up. Sorry.
You want to throw Sam for a loop? Just go ahead.
She said
a little bit of shit talk.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I got to backtrack. So Robin said, "Oh, I did it myself. I." And she said, "What did you just say?" She goes, "I something myself."
I started thinking for myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I started thinking for myself. So who was thinking for you before in your massive molestation house?
Yeah.
Where you were apparently so abused. Who was thinking for you? What are you talking about?
And if you blink, you'll miss it. But Howard goes, "I don't do any thinking of my own." That's true.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. He needs a tutor for everything. The two of them.
You know what? They kind of remind me of when you put clothes on an infant, they're like wiggly bodies, and they just look like
they're fighting it because it's not natural, right, to them.
And they're just flopping around everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like that's what Howard and Robin are. It's like trying to put two clothes on fucking infants.
Putting a sock on a 6-month-old.
I'm going to flush his head down the toilet.
No, he didn't
show up. Yeah, screw him.
But Robin, even when you were out of your mind, when you talked to you about it, you were reasonable. You recognized what your problems were. It's like
no, she didn't.
Well, I didn't recognize them all the time.
No, if you brought it up, she'd go crazy.
Yeah, but sometimes she would say,
sometimes they say, "Hey, you're crazy."
Yeah, you don't know me as long as he
right.
does.
No, sometimes I say, "Well, you're crazy," and then she'd say, "What? You're crazy."
That's right.
Right. I don't know that I'm not, but you were really crazy.
I know. I
made me look like
there was one day
out of control.
And I used to say it'd be so easy to fix Robin. Just tell her to calm down, but it didn't work. It wasn't easy.
Like slowly I turned.
Right.
She once tortured me, and I was trapped in her car for a 30-minute ride of constant berating, so much that I curled up in a fetal position and begged her to stop.
I remember.
Oh God, it was relentless.
She was berating you?
Relentless.
Really? What was your crime?
I was late.
Oh, well, I would have yelled at you too.
Howard, because my car overheated.
Right.
It wasn't even like it was a total legitimate answer because I had a '65 Dodge Dart with an overheated.
I remember walking into the studio one morning. This was like 15 years ago.
Now you could see her completely shitting on the subordinate, and just giving him just for the sake of having to lash out at someone.
And this is jobs without a union. You just have no cover.
No,
you just your power overheats, you're fired.
Fuck you. Yeah. Now Boo's gonna give his tail a whoa.
Fred headed me over.
Well, I used to think, well, Robin's so smart. How could she not see?
That's the thing that makes me upset. Why would you think she was smart? Because the way she bullshits and carries herself. Anyone reading that book could tell you she's a numbskull.
Well, remember in the Sally episode, the one black woman stands up to confront her, and then Robin's response is, "Well, because I don't talk like this, because I carry myself the way I carry myself." Yeah. So she's mocking this woman who has an accent and is speaking a certain way, but what she's saying makes sense. But to Robin, smart is not the content of what she's saying, but how she's saying it.
Yeah,
and this has a lot to do with how Howard is.
Perception.
It's the perception of being an intellectual.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
You don't need to like music. You need to look like you're into music. You need to dress the part. You need to look grunge to say you're in grunge. You don't actually have to own a fucking Green River album or a Temple of the Dog album. You just need to have flannel and wear your stubble a certain way and wear, the grunge wig that Ralph puts together for you and cuts.
Yeah, you don't have to like Prince. Just wear some scarves. You're fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Oh God,
I
she's
was
a smart woman.
oblivious to it for a long time. Then I became aware. Still couldn't do anything about it for a long time, but I was aware.
But you're saying it wasn't the psychiatrist.
That everything helped.
Everything
but it
led to
wasn't
it.
any one thing.
See, because I think in the book you gave incredible credit to that
Yes,
psychiatrist.
because she was the first one to convince me that something might be wrong with me.
Oh.
So there wasn't any one thing, but that thing.
There was
Again.
somebody I paid to tell me I was wrong. That means they must be right.
And so she credits her in the book, but now she can't even bring herself to say what helped her. It was many, many, many things. What did you fucking get better looking at memes all day?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. But you're right about Robin. Because you were trotting her around the book party like, she was the new Svengali.
Not her around. I invited her.
All right. You were trotting her around. She was following you around.
She was following me.
But Howard, you make a really good point. Robin always had the ability to see. She'd go right to the point. She could see craziness in everyone else,
but not herself.
Right. And that's why you were so smart. Robin would go, "Oh, that person's crazy."
You should see the speech I used to give the intern.
So this drives me crazy. She says, there's not one thing I can think of. It was, that crazy. And you keep discussing how crazy you are. You know how you got yourself better, whether it be medication, which I'm not really for, but, or if it's getting a better job, a better sleep schedule, a better life schedule, or a better therapist, that thing. The fact that you can't even credit one thing not only tells me you're not better, it tells me you're full of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, that narcissism, you're not going to give the credit to someone else for your seeming accomplishments.
Oh, I just started thinking on my own.
Right. So that means the first 40 years of your life, you didn't have a thought of your own. And now suddenly your brain started working.
I just started thinking on my own. And then it was a whole bunch of things that I can't remember. Any of the things. The one thing. Wasn't one.
Unbelievable.
Did your foot friend get any of the credit? The one who rubs your feet?
No.
Howard, I just have to tell the intern.
Tiny building block.
The one who was appointed to be Robin's intern would be this long speech. All right, don't piss her off. Don't talk to her in the morning. You sit at a different desk.
I remember the one that cried.
Oh.
9/11 saved my life.
I realized I couldn't walk down if I needed to.
The one thing was 3,000 plus people falling out of a burning building.
I'll never forget Benjamin's Photoshop. Remember 9/11 and that huge picture of fat Robin face.
I was watching people crawling out of the building and the rubble and the dust. And that was the thing. I thought for myself.
These people jumped so she could realize she needed to drop a couple.
There was a very fat person on the 97th floor. I needed to get help.
9/11 was her weight. Fuck.
That was bad.
The one.
I remember a few that
I was there when
He cried. What are you talking?
You cried?
No, I didn't cry.
You were in the fetal position. You were all butt.
But I didn't cry. I wouldn't cry.
Wow.
I definitely wanted out.
What about the revolving door of assistance?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a revolving.
We
door.
couldn't even keep up with their names.
Get out of here. That's a myth.
But Gary, tell them about the stories about in the hallways with the
Well, there was Ganji.
Coffee pot.
Ganji.
Okay.
Drop bombs on them all. I need to lose weight.
Hid in the back for an entire show.
She did?
Wants to avoid.
Coward.
I just remember the vision I'll always have of Robin at her all-time highest craziness where she was running around with an empty coffee pot, flailing her arms around going, I need coffee!
I know. People used to come to me, though.
There's Photoshop. Matthew Schultz, it's all yours, my friend.
Oh, my God. Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada would hide under a desk for somebody like Robin.
Oh, big time.
I need coffee!
In the early days of the crazy. I said, well, what are you going to do about it? I said, listen, I'm not in charge.
They're trying to keep her from killing.
Yeah.
Howard would put
They said, well, you can't put up with this. I said, I'll put up with it. She's good.
Yep, exactly.
I don't care.
You know what?
I called that.
So that's total Howard. Even early days, he's the host of the show. He's the 800-pound gorilla on the show. When he has enough clout, he is the one that can determine someone deal with this. But I'm not going to deal with it. That's my co-host, but it's someone else's responsibility.
Yeah, I have a Rodney King bit to do. I need an OJ bit to do. I have racial humor that needs to be on my show. Shut up and take it.
Yeah, basically.
I did such crazy things that sometimes I used to go out on the street and scream at people.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You get killed for that in the city.
Absolutely. I take a guard.
I did finally get to the point where
she took a guard out to scream at people on the street randomly. And this is a person you're working with?
This is a good person that we should cheer.
Yeah, we should donate to the 15 Foundation because of this person.
Have you ever seen Muhammad Ali take security to go scream at people on the street? I fucking was waiting in line at a bodega, and I just decided to say, fuck you! I need to go first. I have a guard.
I'm the greatest.
I said to Robin, listen, I don't think I can take much more. I did get to that point, right?
Yeah, but we were screaming as loud as we could possibly.
I said, I'm pretty sure I've had it.
Well, that was
This is it.
Yeah.
One morning,
you know what? You also said that more than once, which meant you were no help at all because you'd say it.
Well, I tried to shock you.
One morning, I can't remember what the situation was, but something happened between Robin and I, which then spilled over to an argument between you guys.
Yeah.
And I came in the morning.
Well, because I felt that she was being unreasonable with you, and I had to say something.
But I think it went on to bigger things. But Fred got me at the door.
Then I got caught up in the crossfire.
Fred got me at the door at 5:30 in the morning, and he goes, "Listen, man, I better warn you." He goes, "There's real fireworks going on in there, and I've heard your name yelled a lot."
I used to go home to my wife, and I say, "Listen." I say, work could be so easy, except we have one problem. Robert, it could be, we could go in.
It's just in line with her. She knows she can shit on Gary because he's a subordinate. So that's very telling. Like, it could have been about Bowie specifically, but I don't buy it. I buy it because the only thing in my mind is I'm going to start yelling about Bowie because it's not going to get me in trouble.
But she even said she was mentioning they said she was mentioning Howard's name. I really think that it did get so crazy, and you're working in these really close quarters, the studio back then and everything in the office and whatnot.
Yep.
Howard probably didn't want to deal with it until he absolutely had to deal with it. And he was probably contemplating life would be so much easier without this fucking craziness, but I need her.
Yeah.
I need her.
In the same way Artie was allowed to be an addict for so long on the show, and he didn't want to take responsibility for him either, and decided, well, let's let him flame out. Whatever happens, just keep him as long as I can.
And when craziness like that goes on, you have to fire them. So that's what you have to do sometimes as a boss, to say like, okay, I don't care what your excuse is, Robin. You're done. We're sick of this shit.
Well,
you're throwing coffee around, empty coffee pots, screaming at people.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
No, she would not have survived. I don't know how in God's name they allowed her to get away with that as long as they did. I mean, that just goes to show you the lengths at which he would have kept her because he needed her. He was so desperate, but also so fearful of what would it be like if I didn't have her? Because I think inherently on some level he realized he did crutch on her to get away with what he had to, because if he didn't have her, all of a sudden it's just a white guy saying racist bullshit.
That, and then it becomes comfort over time. Like,
yes, eventually,
I couldn't do this without you. I could do something else.
You and Bob did an episode. You did very well.
No, we can do separate episodes and stuff, but there's a core here, and we're the core. And so I could do something else, like talk about something else, but it couldn't be this. And I think Howard has that comfort. But if I, for example, decided to start wielding a coffee pot around and beating up Bob or Raven or screaming at interns where it's like a revolving door who are scared to death, I'd be like, you know what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Do the job and leave. And everyone could make some good bread.
But I remembered the particular day Gary's talking about. I begged him to leave me alone. Begged him because I knew my brain was going to explode.
Right.
And he would not go.
Yeah, but
and he would say, but I have to stay here and talk to you. And I said,
remember.
Please.
Why did you have to talk to her?
What it came down to for like 10 years in a row. Your birthday show, the days are ticking off. I can't make a decision without Robin because she needs to be the final decision on a lot of things.
Right.
And
Because remember, guys, Robin was always responsible for birthday shit. She started the whole, I'm going to celebrate Howard's birthday. So she was the leader. She was the sort of, she started it. She wanted to be the alpha and the omega when it came to organizing this shit. But for whatever reason, this day, I couldn't put up with it. So she's going to get on Gary, who's just doing his job. It's not even his job. It's some tacked on thing that she's requiring.
Again, it's a tacked on thing. And again, because it was some sort of unsaid rule that Robin has the birthday show say,
Right.
Now you have this of something. We talk about this all the time, just because of the way the office is set up and there's all these unsaid hierarchies that aren't on paper, that have no rhyme or reason. Now all of a sudden you're in this. Now you need her and you can't get her. So what do? Well, I would have just said, fuck it. I'm making my own decisions. I wouldn't have even, if she said that to me, don't talk to me, I don't want to hear about it. Then I'd say to her, then you're not having any say in this. And here's the time you're supposed to show up.
Right. And if you don't like this, that's because you didn't agree to, you let me make the decision myself. And if you don't like what I decide, that's on you, bitch.
Again, this is another Gary being way too easy on Robin, I think, and not taking the bull by the horns, which a lot of these staff members are like this because they're so fearful and abused in this environment.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But it's also Howard not formally assigning anything either.
And also not giving Gary the power, saying, look, when you need to say something to her, you fucking tell her. You say, Howard's okay with this. I got the okay from Howard. When I ask you to do this, you need to do this. He never allowed him that power.
A lot like, you're right. And it's a lot like the charity. No, not with Robin. And it's a lot like the charity thing where it was, Robin never asked. It just happened.
Mm-hmm.
She just started doing it.
Yeah.
And she just started inviting people to all these expensive galas and events and whatnot. And nobody knew what to do with it because there's no protocol. No protocol.
And nothing from the top, nothing from the actual boss to say, guys, no more of this shit. You need to tell her this. Or if he's really any kind of boss, he'll tell her himself. But he's too much of a pussy then, and then even decades before. Same different situation, same more or less, same dynamic.
And say all this goes on. So everything else that we just discussed, then you get the summit where he's on a stage being a boss for the first time in front of everyone, not kind of like in small quarters, where he's kind of getting some people, he's telling them what to do. Some people he's just like, you should just know what to do. It's all these really mixed signals and horrible office environment that has no sort of protocol, but just unsaid things. So then first thing he does when he's a boss, he gets up on that stage and he tells people to make fake Twitter accounts and he's ranting like a total lunatic.
And an idiot, a complete 79.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Robin, listen, we have to decide where we're going to do this. We have these places. She's like, I can't think right now. I said, we literally have till noon today, and that's it. And it was like 11:30. She just didn't want to talk about it, but I had no choice.
Right.
Did you get an answer that day? No. You could have just left, and I would have blown without anybody being there.
But it was one of those things where you had to know. Right. You had to give somebody.
But I'm telling you, he did not get an answer. He just got me losing my mind.
Yeah, but that's you being unreasonable. Don't you recognize that?
That's the point. If you got a crazy person, see, this is the whole idea. If a person is crazy, what is the good of talking to them rationally?
You didn't admit you were crazy, though.
Right, I didn't know you were crazy. I thought I was crazy.
Yeah,
That's the funny thing.
you made it seem like everybody else was.
Point. I'm telling you, I told Gary that it was impossible to talk to me, and he would have to leave, or I wasn't going to be responsible for what happened next.
Okay, so listen to that. I know you got a lot to say about this, but that whole clip, guys, that really was one of the most telling exchanges. She first of all, abdicating all responsibility for her actions, pure
100%.
narcissism. What were you going to say? I was just trying to push that one forward. Yeah.
Her narcissism not only gaslights everyone to saying this blanketed, I'm crazy, so you should just leave me alone and know better, even though in the past I've said this is my responsibility.
Yeah.
And you have to come to me.
I'm the number 2 on the show.
you should just know better to leave me alone. And even though you don't know I'm crazy, I know I'm crazy. I didn't voice that to you at the time, but I'm insane.
You're not aware.
And I might beat you the fuck up if you don't back off at this very moment. It's so, and then to yell at him, then we're going to double on this. It's not even just that exchange that happened in the past. It's now where he's yelling at him now. She's yelling at him now about this in a way that's saying, how could you not know I wasn't so fucking insane and you should have just never asked me?
Are you surprised as I am that she was never institutionalized at some point in her life?
Like a 5150?
Yeah.
By these exchanges, the time period's strange.
Yeah.
But and she doesn't really have family that lives in New York or a really solid group of friends. The only people that she had like intimate relationships with cut her off, like Allison, for example, and others. I think that I'm surprised that she wasn't given an ultimatum with her job. I think that
Howard's going to talk about having finally done it eventually, but I'm thinking there was a time there even later on, like I'm not talking about when he finally gets to her, like, early 80s and says, look, you got to stop this shit. I'm talking about more recently, like around the time that they're talking about with the interns and stuff, where they didn't just decide one day, okay, bring in the guys with the fucking nets.
I'm surprised that this didn't blow up in their faces with the interns because they're such young kids and it's a free job. I blew up in their faces for the pay reasons and the amount of tasks they were done. I mean, there was lawsuits and stuff like that, and that's why you can't have unpaid interns anymore.
Yep.
But I'm kind of surprised that she could threaten this way and act this way with no real repercussions.
Yeah. If she was the host, if she was Howard, yeah, I could get it for a while, even in that era. But as the number two, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's that much power goes with it. I think it was more a sense of, well, leave it up to Howard, and he left it up to everybody else. He just said, no, I'm not taking responsibility for this.
Here's what I'll say: there was a window of time that the show business thing, where it was the star of the show got to be the diva of the show. You could behave however you want. Sure. I think it got a little bit better as time progressed with the 90s and the internet.
Yep.
And blogs and forums and things like that, where it became, you don't need to get a hold of a major media company to get your story out. So that started happening more in the early 2000s. So she's right under the gun for when this type of behavior, if this type of behavior happened now, she would have been blasted all over Perez Hilton, TMZ, you name
Twitter,
it.
Everything.
They would have everything. But she just happened to do this stuff right under when all of this sort of thing started coming out.
Yeah. You're right. That's a great observation. Actually, you're right. She's lucky with the timeline.
I want to get into it. Don't bring this stuff up.
But
I don't want to. I don't. You know what? I would rather not hear about all of it.
The end result is Robin is in no way resembles that person anymore.
Right. Well, yeah. And let's not jinx it.
It's toned down.
Because she's coming back. I don't think I can handle it for a day.
I haven't seen Robin in anger in well over 2 or 3 years, maybe even more.
I think more. Boy, wait till the night Mr. X can't get it up.
The umbrella's going to be...
What's wrong with your lights?
I think, too, that work environments as abusive when you're working with powerful people was more accepted. You just knew that was coming with the dinner, as you say all the time.
Oh yeah, Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, all these sexual these molesters, these not or these just cocksmen that were taking advantage of their power, and the Weinsteins, and which more extreme obviously, but there was a time when you could totally do that. You could
fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. But
so it was it was a very different time where I think when you worked in industries with powerful people in TV, radio, magazines, any movies, you are going in there expecting to be abused.
Yes, and if that was the landscape, you saw it before you entered it. You saw before you were going down that fucking turnpike what it was going to be like, and you decided this is the price I got to pay. This is the road I got to take. That's
so. I think that's I think that's why she was more apt to be such an asshole, because that's just how the culture was.
I think partly, yeah. And also because, yeah, she was, and also because of the dynamic Howard instituted in which he was a complete spineless asshole, taking no responsibility for the show. So she knew she could get away with it as long as she didn't put him in the crosshairs.
Right. It probably also gave her a little bit of a power trip, too, because he is the ultimate star of the show, and whatever he says goes. And I think it gave Robin a little bit of power that made her feel good behind the scenes to put up with whatever was happening on air.
That's right. Yep.
I think he's calmed it down, Howard.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't think it's him.
Yeah, because even when she still tries to lash out at me in some way, he always goes.
She
Robin.
got him because she calmed down.
Robin.
She got him. That guy would not put up with her being crazy.
But there's a balance between them,
right, Robin?
As a couple, they complement each other, and there's a balance.
Oh, he's a real calm guy.
He's the sane. I think he's the
I like
sane
him.
one out of the
Him,
two.
him, I understand.
It appears hard to rile him up.
I thought he was the sane one.
He's the voice of reason in their thing, you know.
Yeah.
But he's not here to protect you.
Well, yeah, but he'll tell you times that you were wrong.
I want to interview Mr. X so bad, more than I want to ask anybody about Robin, because their dynamic to me is fascinating, because he was very domineering over that relationship, and he was very sure of himself on air and in interactions with them when they talked about when they went out to dinner and stuff like that, just how he
was very
how
defined.
he carried himself. Yeah, I would fucking love Fillmore to talk to him.
We'll see if we can find out. If we can find out the little information, he might be willing to talk about it, but I doubt it. I think he'd be like, nah, this is ancient news. But
too
you're right,
normal.
He would be fascinating to talk to, though. You get a bit of him in the better half, but it's again not nearly enough. It's unfortunately too much about Dana and Artie bullshit. But eventually we'll cover that one properly again.
So what?
I know, but that's good.
That's a big deal. We
Hey,
can't do
listen,
that.
After the fact.
I'm telling you, she changed before Mr. X.
Yes.
Because Howard, he comes up to me.
Damn crazy?
Yeah.
No, I think you're
You
right.
saying if Mr. X leaves, she's going to go berserk?
Oh, please.
Yes.
Well, that will happen.
Yes.
Sure.
She was getting better, but when he stepped in permanently, it was like
Howard, let me give you an example.
I'm not. What? Am I crazy, John? Gary, am I?
He came over to me and said, "Hey, listen, I yelled at Robin yesterday for giving you crap on the air. She was so wrong about it." See, that's good.
That's good.
I mean, someone's sane in this relationship.
He thinks
So that's a person that operates in the realm of reality, who knows that social interactions have to be a certain way, and also he's not a take shit kind of person, which these people need in their life.
That's why he had to go.
Yes, absolutely.
That's why he had to go.
Yeah, or if he
And that's
didn't
why
run.
she wanted a Brendan. It's just so crazy. It's so right in our faces. Like, yeah, he had to go. He was too real.
I think Mr. X was stabilizing. I think they're right. He was stabilizing at a time when she needed it, and that she got her use out of it. And it was sex, obviously, because they were friends before they actually started dating. And he made the move. He made the first move. But then you're right. After a certain point, she's like, well, I don't need this. And he probably thought also, I don't need this anymore either. I'd say it was totally mutual.
Because I think, after the shine wears off, she was less, even though you're correct about what you're saying about me or interactions with others, I don't want to hear it anymore because I'm right, and I don't want to listen to you being correct.
Yeah, basically.
that. Of course, I'm always going to give you crap on the radio.
Allison, you're on the air.
Hey, Howard, how are you?
Okay.
Robin.
Yes.
It's estrogen, man. You're going through menopause now. That's why you're sane, right?
No, it's not an estrogen. It's not menopause. It's not perimenopause. It's none of that. She's a legit psycho. That's what it is, and that's what it was. Yeah, go ahead.
I could blame some things on hormones, which I agree with. Like girls, I remember, you're young and you go and you get right before you get your period, I was a total basket case, like cry for no reason or whatever. Just like unrational
not this consistent behavior from her. That's like documented through the years.
And then it kind of,
yeah,
it tapers.
Right.
You just kind of
I get it, but there's like my whole point is there's a plateau and then it goes then the women get normal again. But when she's talking like perimenopause and stuff, my wife was already gone through that. She's going through menopause now. Still, it's maybe she's getting over it finally. But hormones, they do affect the person's personality, absolutely. But it shouldn't affect them that much to the point where they're getting psychotic.
No, it just affects them. Like I remember my mom going through menopause. She was more hot
flashes and stuff.
Yeah, that like red, but then she'd be assertive over things that made it. I'm like, why are you acting like? Why are you talking about this like so? It's so assertive.
Why is this so important?
Yeah, why? And then I'm like, oh yeah, you're going through menopause. You're
right.
A little crazy right now.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, there should
Call me
be like
tomorrow.
a little, that sign in Charlie Brown, like when Lucy was in the little cubicle, the doctor is in. It should be like the menopause is in. Like leave.
Yeah.
That's your signal to go somewhere else when this happens.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Call me tomorrow.
Yeah, basically.
Telling you, man, I just lost a job. I was #1 in the country in my field, and I lost a job for acting like you acted 10 years ago.
Ooh.
They fired my ass for insubordination because I was flailing my arms and screaming at people and stomping
What are you
my
saying?
feet.
You went through menopause and then you got normal?
What's that?
You went through menopause and you got normal?
No, I said Robin's probably going through menopause. That's why she's normal now.
Yeah, you think so, huh?
You get rid of that estrogen, man. I'm telling you, it's evil.
Estrogen will kill you.
It's an evil little.
But hey, here's a pick-me-up. She got fired for insubordination.
Yeah, exactly.
But Robin,
Anybody?
you're awesome, man. Who could keep a job flailing their arms and screaming at people? Obviously, I couldn't. I'm sitting here, my unemployed, insubordinate fat ass, looking for something.
I used to get mad because when you were that crazy at NBC and stuff, then they would come to me and say, well, you can't take Robin. I'd say, and then you get mad at me and I go, gee, I wonder if Robin realizes I'm in there fighting for her job. And then you'd be yelling at me.
I know.
I'm going to be like, what the hell am I doing?
I'll give you. So sometimes when I'm at work and say the front desk person isn't there or whatever, they will ring. The people who come in the office will ring a doorbell, and sometimes it rings so much. The one day I just like threw up my arms. I'm like, this fucking doorbell. And my supervisor came over to me and she goes, yeah, I know it's annoying, but you can't say this fucking doorbell. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. I just I was like, I fucking had it.
It must be that estrogen, Sam.
So all these people are like, this fucking doorbell.
Yeah.
What did I say to you, Howard? When I was writing, I said, why did you put up with me?
Because you were good on the air. He always said that you were good on the air.
Yeah, but she was also a nice person. When she was sane, she was a nice person.
Yeah.
It was a
Okay.
No, I wasn't.
But I will tell you that there was
something there.
I wouldn't have put up with you.
I thought you would kill yourself.
There was 1 or 2 times.
I knew if I could find a man. Actually, I hired Mr. X to have sex with Robin. Boy, that'd be a great movie.
I would have chipped in. There was 1 or 2 times where I went to Howard and I said, Howard, man, she's really she's all over me. It's insane. And Howard said to me, you know what? Robin's the best person I've ever worked with. You figure out the rest.
Figure out how to deal with it.
I know, which is so tough.
That's great. Great advice. You figure it out, Gary. I hired this person who's a complete maniac and irrational. You figure it out.
But I bestowed the job on somebody I hired who sleeps on the job and is a complete fuck up and has no sense of office management, and he's going to deal with it.
And totally afraid of confrontation.
Completely. Yep.
Figure it out. You figure it out.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, listen, let's take a break. Obviously, everyone's been through a lot today.
This isn't interesting.
Right. We have to take a break.
Gary had a crazy mother, too, like a legitimate crazy mother.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure he recognized some of these facets in his mother and Robin, these sorts of situations because of his own childhood trauma. How do you expect him to deal with this?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a perfect storm for Gary to be a doormat, not just from Howard, but from everybody. Like just from Tracy, like if the office manager is giving you shit and you're the producer and you can't take it, what's it going to be like when the boss and number 2 also feel like, fuck you?
Well, imagine if I was Robin, I started screaming about the doorbell, okay? And I started saying, fucking doorbell. And then the next day I'm throwing papers and telling people, can you tell this fucking doorbell, person pushing, shut the fuck up. I mean, it just accelerates.
Or Howard, who's screaming at the office saying, "Where's the fucking spoon? I need a spoon. I can't eat until I have a spoon."
Yeah.
This is healthy.
I'm sorry again.
No, listen, no need.
Become aware of the buttocks.
I played her this tape.
Tense them. Inhale and hold the breath while tensing. Keep tensing.
There's some guy named John. He says he used to drive you. He said you were mean.
John?
John?
Yeah.
You drove Robin?
Yes.
Drove me where?
Where'd you drive her?
Crazy. I used to work for Computer Car. It was a car service.
She knows it's true. She just got that recognition. You're that little sigh of that laugh of recognition.
Oh yeah.
Because he mentioned the name. He mentioned the name of the place.
Drive in the morning.
Yeah.
And every time we used to pick her up, we'd be like, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning." She would just sit in the car on the roads. It takes 5 minutes to 6 minutes. If you don't take the way she was going to go, she would just scream at you, yell at you.
Oh, my God.
My record, Lord.
Oh, my God. She's like, thinks she's better than Waze app or something.
Oh,
fuck you. It's like so, you know what's so crazy about this too? Is when it's so early in the morning, why do you need to be this aggressive? Is anybody...
I bet you she was like it 24/7, and that mania, whatever the fuck it all was.
All right,
it permeated every aspect of her life, except when she was talking to her parents.
You know, in the morning, I'm just like, whatever, just get me to work, just do what I got to do. But when it's a school morning and I got to get Mia out the door and drive her to school on the same time, it would be Mia's like Robin, where it's like, why are you setting me off this early? Can you stop?
Yeah.
I don't want pancakes. I wanted toast. Where's my pen? It would be like a video scene. Where's my toast?
She'd take Rick out and start screaming at people.
You take her to school today.
I might need some backup.
She's just got all sorts of bent.
That's right. You better take my route.
Wow. You would yell at the guy, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She used to tear it up.
Right.
And I don't
What
want
happens
any,
is-
and I wouldn't let anybody talk to me in the morning.
Really?
It used to come as a random call. Whoever got the bid would have to go pick her up. And everybody would try to respond that they were busy on another call because nobody wanted to pick her up.
Oh, my God. You got to be kidding.
She's a monster.
Oh, man.
Who knew that?
I didn't.
Don't you remember the years of when we'd all be doing something and be like, "No one told me.
Right.
I was never told." And meanwhile, she got memos, phone calls, everything. No.
Right.
I was never informed. No one told me.
Boy, everyone's afraid.
It went from I was never informed to, well, people only told me a week before. A week is not nearly enough time.
Who reads those memos?
All right, listen. Well, sir, I'm sorry that your driving got affected.
Give me the hanger. She's like, Mommy, dearest. No. What was it? No.
Tina, bring me the axe.
All right,
I got so distraught I had to quit.
Oh, right.
Unreal.
6 minutes. You had to quit.
Robin, let's take a break so you and everyone else can calm down.
Well, you know how it's good that Robin's show. The wrath of people that she like screwed up now are walking around getting shrinks now. All the people she's abused in the years now are sit with psychologists.
Enough of that.
Psychiatrist.
All right, we're going to take... who even knows what he's talking about?
I'm talking about John.
Oh, here.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Sussy knew.
Oh, yeah.
Sussy hater.
He was,
good on you, Suss.
Oh, yeah, he was present. The next clip is, we'll get 3 more short clips, guys, really short. So here's the next one. This is about Allison.
Oh, here's Gary. Gary comes running it.
Something weird happened yesterday.
I'm trying to think what my wife's first question was. Oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, she's questioning some things in the book too. Well, the part where she's involved.
You two have no memory of anything.
Yeah, okay.
First question was, would you watch the kids for 5 days so I can read?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so the next
You read Robin's book?
The next clip, this is when her nephew Anthony comes in, and they start talking to him, and this part comes in. So you guys got to listen to this one because this is one that goes into the intro.
You read Robin's book, your Aunt Robin?
No.
You got to read that.
You don't want to do
No, he doesn't need to read that.
If you read that one,
You should listen to it. It's
you're
way better.
stomping on my face.
Oh, here we go.
Whatever.
Only thing you remember.
That's all I remember. And there's a couple of sexual things in there.
Oh,
that you
that's
don't
why
want
he
to
doesn't
know.
need to read it.
Your aunt did something.
Those are all lies. I made those up because they said the book had to be.
Yeah, you should hear the line. You should hear the line that happened in San Francisco.
Yeah. And now, by the way, first of all, guys, the San Francisco thing was not in the book. That's something she quote unquote revealed on the air. So they've decided, okay, it's part of the book. Bullshit, revisionist. But the most important, obvious thing was she said they told me I had to make it juicy, so I made the whole fucking book up. This is from August 12th, 2004. For anybody keeping track.
I know. Just hearing this makes me just flummoxed. I'm speechless.
Oh yeah,
it's awful.
It's worse. It's worse than when she had finally admitted I ate meat while I was promoting the vegetation of Robin after my cancer treatment.
It's not like when people admit that wrestling's fake or reality TV is fake.
Right.
You don't care that much. You kind of have an idea. This though, to people who really bought it and the way she sold it and the way she went out with the fucking gloves and had them carry her around like some sort of surviving champion. Oof.
Yeah. And I'd love to interview Dan Severn about that. He was one of the guys, and Ken Shamrock was the other person in the parade. And people going, what's this parade for? Who is this person? Why does she think she needs a parade?
They need Mike Tyson to fucking bite off her ear and knock her out.
Maybe. Last one's from the wrap-up show, guys. I can't remember exactly when.
I learned a lot about Robin by listening to her audiobook, and that was one of the parts that fascinated me. She said she would have these urges to just rip open her shirt and flash cab drivers that were sitting at the corner at a light. And she just had these urges to do, stuff like that back when she was going through a lot of these problems.
It's funny because I read the book and I heard all that. These are things I didn't know. And Jackie used to get all irritated by it. Jackie thought that Robin made stuff up for the book. And you know what he used to call her book?
What?
Quivers, a lie.
I don't know.
So anyway, Jackie did not. He did not back that up. He said that's bullshit. But I believe Gary in this case because they used to hang out together, him and Jackie, and I imagine they would have had loads of conversations about this fucking book at the time.
Not only, but if you just see the way Jackie acts towards the book, clearly he thinks it's bullshit.
Yeah, completely. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Well, fuck you, and I'm going to be wearing my lime green skirt and flashing my breasts at the traffic light.
Make sure in the morning when you get up, Rick, I need my coffee.
Where's my coffee, Mia? You
step and fetch. Guys, thank you so much.
I'm a prostitute.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning into this one. We hope you've enjoyed it. Part 1's on YouTube already. Part 2 is going to be on YouTube. I don't imagine there's going to be any problems with this one. So take care. Stay safe. We love you.
Okay? And I'm going to fly out there next week, and I'm going to straighten your ass out. And I'm going to make sure that you really get it. I'm going to make sure that you know what a rude, thoughtless little pig you really are. Do you understand? You're a rude, thoughtless pig. So be ready on Friday the 20th, because I'm coming out there. I'm going to tell you this, then I'm going to turn around, I'm going to fly right back home. You are a rude, thoughtless pig. All right.